Did you know that nearly 6.5 million Americans over 60 are living with heart failure right now, and many of them don't even realize it? It doesn't always arrive with dramatic chest pain or flashing warning lights. Sometimes it sneaks in quietly, one small symptom at a time, until suddenly the simplest things feel harder than they used to. Have you noticed yourself getting tired more easily? Maybe walking to the mailbox takes a little longer. Or maybe you've started sleeping with an extra pillow because it's easier to breathe that way. Many people shrug those things off as part of getting older, but what if they're not? I'm Dr. David, and for more than a decade, I've helped thousands of older adults stay healthy, strong, and independent. And I've seen it time and time again. Heart failure rarely shows up all at once. It begins quietly, with signs that are easy to miss or easier to explain away. Let's be clear about what heart failure really means. It doesn't mean your heart has stopped working. It means it's not pumping blood as effectively as it should. When that happens, oxygen and nutrients can't reach the rest of your body properly. And your body, clever as it is, starts to adapt in ways that may look normal, but actually point to deeper trouble. One of the first things people notice is fatigue. Not just the usual kind after a long day, but a deep, lingering tiredness that doesn't go away with rest. You wake up already feeling drained. Walking across the room or taking out the trash feels heavier than it should. It's your heart's way of saying, I'm struggling to keep up. When your heart can't pump enough oxygen-rich blood, your muscles and brain don't get the fuel they need, and you feel it everywhere. Then there's shortness of breath. Maybe you've noticed it while climbing stairs or even when you're just lying down at night. Some people describe it as not being able to get a full breath or needing to sit up to breathe better. That's because fluid can start to build up in the lungs when the heart can't pump efficiently. It's one of those things that's easy to blame on getting older or a little out of shape. But when it becomes persistent, that's a serious signal your heart is asking for help. Another early sign is swelling, especially in your feet, ankles, or legs. Maybe your shoes feel tighter or your socks leave deeper marks than they used to. That swelling isn't just water weight. It's your body holding on to extra fluid because your heart isn't moving blood efficiently. Gravity pulls it down to the lowest parts of your body, which is why it often shows up in your legs first. Some people even feel bloated around the belly for the same reason. Now, let's add another piece to the puzzle. A persistent cough or wheeze. It might sound like allergies or a cold that never quite goes away. But when a heart can't pump properly, fluid can leak into the airways. That irritation leads to coughing, especially when you lie down. Some people even notice pinkish mucus, a small but clear sign that the problem is deeper than the lungs themselves. Then there's sudden weight gain. You step on the scale and notice you're up 3 or 4 pounds, sometimes overnight, even though you haven't eaten differently. That's not fat, that's fluid. When your heart slows down, your kidneys don't get enough blood flow, and they start to hold on to water and salt. Your body is trying to help, but it ends up overloading itself instead. If you ever see fast, unexplained weight gain like that, it's a sign to pay attention, not just shrug. Here's one many people overlook: loss of appetite or feeling full too soon. It doesn't sound like a heart symptom, does it? But when the heart struggles, blood flow to your digestive system slows down. Your stomach and liver can swell slightly with fluid, leaving you feeling bloated or uninterested in food. Over time, this can lead to unintentional weight loss, which makes your body even weaker. Another subtle clue comes at night: frequent urination. During the day, gravity pulls excess fluid down to your legs, but when you lie down, that fluid moves back into your bloodstream, and your kidneys start working overtime to get rid of it. So you find yourself waking up again and again to go to the bathroom. If that's happening along with swelling or shortness of breath, it's not just age, it's a sign that your heart is under pressure. Let's not forget heart palpitations, that fluttering, racing, or skipping feeling in your chest. It might happen after light activity or even while you're sitting quietly. Sometimes it feels like your heart is catching up to itself. That's your heart trying to work harder to maintain circulation. It's easy to ignore at first. Maybe you think it's anxiety or caffeine or excitement, but if it keeps coming back, it's your body waving a flag. And here's one that surprises almost everyone:
confusion, or difficulty concentrating. When your heart isn't pumping enough blood, your brain doesn't get the oxygen it needs to think clearly. You might feel foggy, forget things easily, or struggle to stay focused. It's subtle at first, but if friends or family start noticing changes in your alertness, it's time to listen. The heart and the brain are partners. When one falters, the other always feels it. Heart failure develops over time, often years, but every one of these small clues, fatigue, swelling, shortness of breath, cough, weight gain, loss of appetite, confusion, dizziness, is an opportunity to act sooner than later, because when caught early, heart failure can be managed and your life can still be full of strength, independence, and joy.
The truth about heart failure is that it rarely hits suddenly. It builds slowly, over months or even years. The body is remarkably good at adapting. It finds clever ways to keep you functioning, even as your heart works harder than it should. But those adaptations come with a cost. They mask the problem until it becomes too loud to ignore. Let's imagine this for a moment. Your heart is like the pump in a garden fountain. When it's strong, the water flows evenly, beautifully, with no effort. But if that pump starts to weaken, the flow slows down. The water stagnates, builds up in places it shouldn't, and soon the whole system struggles. Your body works exactly the same way. When the heart weakens, pressure builds up behind it, in your lungs, in your veins, in your tissues, and eventually your organs start feeling the strain. That's why so many symptoms of early heart failure seem scattered or unrelated. Fatigue, swelling, coughing, forgetfulness, they all trace back to one problem. Your heart is having to work too hard. And here's what most people don't realize. Your body will try to protect you by compensating. Your heart might start beating faster to push out more blood. Your blood vessels might tighten to maintain pressure. Your kidneys might hold on to fluid to make up for lost volume. It's a heroic effort, but it's temporary. Over time, those backup systems begin to backfire, and that's when symptoms snowball. That's why it's so important not to wait until things get bad. The earlier you recognize these subtle changes, the more treatment options you have, and the greater the chance of keeping your independence. Now, let's talk about what happens when these signs go unnoticed. At first, you might think it's just normal aging. You rest more, move less, maybe gain a few pounds. But soon you start noticing you're out of breath doing chores you used to handle easily. Climbing stairs feels like climbing a mountain. You stop walking with friends because you can't keep up. Before long, you're sitting more, moving less, and your heart gets even weaker. It's a slow cycle, but it can be stopped. Doctors often say the body whispers before it screams. Those whispers, those quiet early signs, are the ones that save lives when we listen. And if you're thinking, well, I already have some of those symptoms, don't panic. The goal isn't fear, it's awareness. These signs don't automatically mean you have heart failure, but they do mean your body is asking for attention. A quick conversation with your doctor, a few simple tests, and you could have answers long before things turn serious. Now, here's something that surprises many of my patients. Heart failure can start even if you've never had a heart attack. In fact, the most common causes are high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, and long-term stress on the heart. Over time, those conditions make the heart muscle thicker, stiffer, or weaker. And because the change happens slowly, it's easy to miss until symptoms start piling up. That's why prevention and early detection are everything. If you're over 60, one of the best things you can do is track your body like an investigator. Notice your patterns, how much you weigh, how easily you get winded, how your shoes fit at the end of the day, how many pillows you need at night. Write it down if you need to, because the small day-to-day changes often tell the story before the big ones do. And here's the encouraging part.
Even if you already have early heart failure, modern medicine gives us incredible tools to help. Medications can make the heart pump more efficiently. Simple changes like reducing salt, staying active, and managing blood pressure can make a huge difference. This isn't about perfection, it's about small, steady steps that give your heart the best fighting chance. I've seen patients in their 70s and 80s turn things around just by listening to their bodies earlier. One man I treated, let's call him George, used to think his shortness of breath was just old age. He ignored it for months until his daughter noticed he was avoiding his evening walks. We ran some tests, caught the issue early, and got him on treatment. Today he's walking every morning again. Slower, yes, but steady and strong. That's what early awareness does. It gives you control back. Now here's something many people don't talk about, the emotional side of heart failure. When you feel your body slowing down, it can bring frustration, fear, even embarrassment. You might avoid telling anyone because you don't want to seem weak or dependent. But the truth is, ignoring symptoms doesn't protect you. It isolates you. And heart health isn't just about the organ in your chest. It's about the quality of your life, your relationships, your confidence. I always tell my patients this: don't see these signs as failures. See them as feedback. Your body isn't betraying you. It's communicating with you. Every cough, every tired step, every swollen ankle is a message. And when you respond early, you give your heart and your future the best possible chance. Here's something else that matters. Heart failure doesn't mean your life is over. Many people live long, fulfilling years after diagnosis. The key is catching it early and treating it like a long-term partnership with your body. The more you understand it, the more you can manage it. So start paying attention to those patterns. Fatigue that doesn't fade, breathing that feels heavier, swelling that comes and goes, sudden weight gain, restless nights, or a racing heartbeat. Write them down, talk to your doctor, and don't downplay what you feel. You know your body better than anyone else. If something feels different, not just tired, but different, that's worth listening to. Because in medicine, small awareness leads to big outcomes. Your heart has been there for you every second of your life, through laughter, through stress, through all of it. The least you can do is listen when it finally starts speaking up.
Let's get honest about something. Heart failure sounds scary. The name itself can make anyone panic. But when you understand what's really happening, it becomes less frightening and a lot more manageable. The truth is, most people with early heart failure don't die from it. They live with it. They adapt, adjust, and learn how to keep the heart strong for years to come. And here's the beautiful part. Your heart has an incredible ability to recover when you give it the right conditions. It's not a fragile machine, it's a muscle that can grow stronger again. But that only happens when you listen to it early, before the damage becomes permanent. Now, I've met countless seniors who told me, "Doctor, I wish I'd known what those early signs meant." They thought it was just fatigue or old age. Some ignored their shortness of breath because they didn't want to bother anyone. And yet, once we found out the truth, treated it early, and changed a few habits, their energy came back. They started doing things they hadn't done in years: gardening, walking, even dancing again. That's the power of early action. Let's talk a bit more about what your heart is trying to do when you feel these changes. Imagine your heart as a hard-working employee who never takes a day off. When everything's fine, it finishes the job easily. But if your blood pressure is too high, or your arteries are stiff, or your body is carrying too much weight, that employee starts working overtime, day after day, year after year. At first, the heart copes by getting stronger, thicker, pumping harder. But just like a person, it eventually gets tired. That's when symptoms appear, not because it gave up, but because it's asking for help. So what kind of help does it need? First, it needs less pressure to work against. That means keeping your blood pressure under control.
High blood pressure is the single biggest cause of heart failure in older adults. It silently wears down the heart's muscle until it can't pump efficiently anymore. Second, it needs better fuel. That means eating in a way that supports heart health. A diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins helps reduce inflammation and keeps your arteries flexible. Think less salt, more color on your plate. Your taste buds will adjust faster than you think. Third, it needs movement, but not punishment. Gentle exercise is one of the best medicines for the heart. You don't have to run marathons. Even a 20-minute walk each day improves circulation and strengthens the heart muscle. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. And finally, your heart needs emotional calm. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline make the heart beat faster and harder. Chronic stress is like running an engine too hot for too long. Eventually, something gives. That's why relaxation isn't the luxury, it's heart medicine. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Doctor, I'm too old to change. But that's simply not true. I've seen people in their 80s lower their blood pressure, lose weight, regain stamina, and reduce fluid buildup just by making small daily changes. The body is remarkably forgiving when we give it a reason to heal. Let's get back to those early signs for a moment because they really are your roadmap. Each one tells you something different about what your heart needs. If you're tired all the time, your heart might be struggling to send enough oxygen to your muscles. If you're short of breath, fluid might be pooling in your lungs. If your ankles swell, your circulation is slowing. If you're gaining weight quickly, your kidneys are holding fluid. If your heartbeat feels irregular, your heart's electrical system might be under strain. Each of these clues is a chance to adjust course. And when you respond early, you can often prevent the later stages of heart failure, the kind that makes walking across the room a struggle or causes hospitalization. I once had a patient. Her name was Carol. She was 74, bright, funny, always smiling. One day she told me she was getting winded folding laundry. That might not sound serious, but she knew her body. She said, "Doctor, this isn't my normal." We ran a few tests, caught her heart issue early, and started treatment right away. 6 months later, she was volunteering again at her church, full of energy. That's the difference awareness makes. You don't need to understand every medical detail. You just need to pay attention to what's new, what's different, what doesn't feel like you. Now, there's one more thing that's important to talk about: sleep. Many older adults with early heart issues notice they wake up suddenly at night feeling short of breath or needing to sit up to breathe easier. That's not just bad dreams or anxiety. It's a sign that fluid is moving into the lungs when you lie flat. If that's happening even once in a while, it's worth getting checked. And then there's that cough, that dry, nagging, sometimes productive cough that just won't quit. If it gets worse when you lie down or improves when you sit up, that's another early red flag. It's not just allergies. It's your heart and lungs trying to tell you something. I like to remind my patients that the heart never lies. It's one of the most honest organs you have. When it struggles, it always sends a message. Sometimes quiet, sometimes loud. The real question is, are we listening? Too often we tell ourselves stories to stay comfortable. I'm just getting old. It's just the weather. It's nothing. But small excuses have big consequences when it comes to heart health. So if you've been feeling any of these things, fatigue, shortness of breath, swelling, irregular heartbeat, confusion, or rapid weight gain, don't wait for it to get worse. Make that appointment. Talk to your doctor. Ask for a heart check. There's no medal for ignoring symptoms, but there's peace of mind in knowing the truth.
Heart failure isn't the end. It's a wake-up call. A reminder that the heart that's carried you through a lifetime deserves a little care in return. There's something remarkable about the human heart, not just as an organ, but as a symbol of resilience. It beats more than 100,000 times every single day, year after year, decade after decade. And most of the time, we barely notice it. It's the quiet engine behind every laugh, every memory, every sunrise. But when that rhythm starts to change, the world around you changes too. You start adjusting your life in small ways, walking slower, sitting more, avoiding stairs, telling yourself you just don't have the energy anymore. I see that in my patients all the time. They don't complain, they just adapt. They make their world smaller so they can keep up with it. That quiet shrinking of life is one of the most painful things about undiagnosed heart failure. It doesn't steal your life overnight. It takes it inch by inch until one day you realize how much you've given up just to keep going. But it doesn't have to be that way. The moment you notice those small changes and choose to pay attention, you take the first step toward reclaiming control. And that's something no medication alone can do. Awareness is the first medicine. So, let's circle back to those 13 early signs again. You might not remember them all word for word, but remember their feeling. Tiredness that doesn't fade, breath that feels shorter, legs that feel heavier, coughing that lingers, weight that changes suddenly, appetite that disappears, sleep that's restless, thinking that feels foggy, heartbeats that feel strange, feet that swell, skin that cools, urination that increases at night, dizziness that sneaks up on you. Those aren't random. They're your heart's way of saying, I'm struggling. Now, it's worth saying this. Not every symptom means heart failure. Some of these can come from other conditions, lung issues, thyroid imbalance, dehydration, or even side effects from medications. That's why guessing never helps. Only a checkup, some basic tests, and a clear diagnosis can tell you what's really happening. And the sooner that happens, the easier it is to treat. Modern medicine has come a long way. We can help the heart relax if it's stiff, strengthen it if it's weak, reduce fluid buildup, and even correct rhythm problems. In many cases, we can stop early heart failure in its tracks before it ever becomes advanced. The key is timing, and your attention makes that timing possible. Here's something most people forget. You have more influence over your heart health than any doctor ever will. Doctors can prescribe medication, yes. We can run tests and explain the numbers, but we can't feel what you feel. Only you know when something is different, when your body feels off, when your breath feels shorter or your ankles puff up in the evening. Those small details you notice are what save lives. There's an old saying I tell my patients, the body never whispers without reason. If you feel it, there's a reason. Now, let's talk a bit about energy, because one of the most common things older adults tell me is I just don't have energy anymore. And while that can happen naturally with age, it can also be one of the earliest signs that the heart isn't keeping up. The body senses it before your mind does. You'll notice it in your stamina, your ability to recover, or how often you need to rest. That fatigue isn't weakness, it's feedback. It's your body saying, let's fix the system. Another quiet sign that often goes unnoticed is emotional change. Many people with early heart problems report feeling anxious, irritable, or down for no clear reason. That's not in your head. When the heart pumps less efficiently, oxygen levels in circulation change, affecting brain chemistry and mood. Sometimes treating the heart improves not only the body, but also the mind. I've seen it happen. Patients who thought they were depressed only to find out their heart was the real culprit. Once we treated it, their mood lifted, their sleep improved, their energy returned. It's all connected. And while we're talking about connection, remember this. The heart is more than muscle and valves. It's communication. It connects every part of your body with life itself. So when it struggles, the entire body speaks up. That's why listening matters so much. Every symptom you notice is a small act of communication. You don't have to fear it. You just have to respond. Now, Some people hesitate to talk to their doctor because they're afraid of bad news. I get it. But ignoring the possibility of heart failure doesn't prevent it. It just delays the help that could make all the difference. If your car made a strange sound, you wouldn't wait until it broke down to check it. You'd take it to the mechanic right away. Your heart deserves at least that much care. And here's something deeply encouraging. When older adults make even small improvements, the benefits come quickly. Within weeks of adjusting medication, lowering sodium, walking regularly, and tracking their weight, many of my patients feel clearer, lighter, and more capable. It's not just about surviving longer, it's about feeling more alive while you're here. You've worked hard your whole life. You've raised families, built careers, faced challenges, endured loss, celebrated joy. You've spent decades giving your heart away to people, to work, to memories. Isn't it time to give something back to it? That's really what this conversation is about. Giving back to your own heart.
Listening when it speaks, acting when it asks, respecting its limits, but also trusting its strength. Because your heart isn't failing you, it's fighting for you. It's been doing that since the very first moment of your life, and even now, it's still fighting to keep you here, to keep you well, to keep you connected to the world you love. It's never too late to listen to that rhythm again, to care for it, to protect it, to give it what it's been asking for all along. You know, after all these years of treating seniors, one thing stands out to me every single time. The strongest hearts aren't always the ones that beat perfectly. They're the ones that keep going despite everything. I've met people in their 80s who've had heart failure for years, but live fully because they decided not to ignore their symptoms. They walk a little slower, they take their pills, they keep their checkups, but they also laugh, travel, garden, and dance. They know what it means to partner with their heart, not fight against it. That's the secret. It's not about perfection, it's about partnership. So if you've heard something today that sounds familiar, a symptom, a story, a feeling, don't brush it off. Don't tell yourself it's just age. Aging doesn't mean you have to surrender your quality of life. Aging is simply your body's way of asking for a different kind of attention. You can absolutely have strength, joy, and vitality at 70, 80, even 90, but only if you decide that your health deserves action, not excuses. Take a moment tonight to listen to your body. Feel your pulse. Notice your breath. Look at your feet and ankles. Pay attention to the little things you usually ignore. These quiet signals are your map, your heart's way of pointing you toward care, toward balance, toward a longer, fuller life. And if something doesn't feel right, talk to your doctor. Schedule that checkup. Ask the questions you've been avoiding, because the earlier you act, the more power you have. You owe it to yourself and to the people who love you to take that step. I'm Dr. David, and I've spent more than a decade caring for older adults and helping them rediscover energy they thought they'd lost forever. I've seen hearts recover. I've seen lives restart. And I can tell you this, no matter your age, your heart is always capable of healing, as long as you give it the chance. So protect your heart like you'd protect someone you love, because it's been loving you every single day of your life. Take care of yourself, stay curious, and keep moving forward, one strong heartbeat at a time.